Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to Prof. Rudy and Memria. My name is Davina Putri Wiendien. In this occasion, I am going to present my proposal writing with title The Influence of Social Class on Personality through Mrs. Bennett Character in Pride and Prejudice. My research, there will be two research questions. First is how does social class shape Mrs. Bennet's personality? And the second is how does Mrs. Bennet's personality develop other characters? The research objective of my research is to identify and define the social class of Mrs. Bennet in Pride and Prejudice and the impacts on her behavior. Second is to analyze the social impact of class on Mrs. Bennet's relationship with her family members, including her husband, Mr. Bennet, and her daughters. The significance of my research is to offer insights into the broader implications of social class on individual personality and behavior in contemporary society. So I have reviewed some of previous study that related to my topic, issue, or theory that I am going to use. The first study is pembentukan posisi perempuan dalam novel Pride and Prejudice. This study is focused on how social class influenced the women's position in the novel that leading to gender discrimination and oppression within the narrative. The second is mother behavior to their daughters as seen in Pride and Prejudice and Little Woman. This study shows how Mrs. Bennet's personality that influenced by her social condition impacts the behavior of the other characters, especially her daughters. Next is identification of Marxist aspects in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. This study examines an extensive thematic analysis across multiple characters and broader societal themes related to capitalism and communism using Marxist theory. The next previous study is class, rank, and status in Pride and Prejudice. The study examines broader societal implications and character interactions within the class system. The next previous study is social class in British society in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. This article is focused on the impact of social class on the characters generally. Meanwhile, the upcoming research will more focus on the Mrs. Bennett character only. And the last is the influence of social class of women's attitude towards men in Pride and Prejudice. This study focused on how social class affects women's attitudes towards men, focusing on sociological aspects. So from all the previous study that I have reviewed, the previous studies that discuss the influence of social class on personality through Mrs. Bennet character are still limited. If there were any, it talked about the society and personal identity issue of the main characters only. Next is the theoretical foundation. The theory used as the theoretical basis in this study is Karl Marxism theory. Marxism approach focuses on the social, political, and economic philosophy that examines the history of humanity and the role of class struggle in driving social change. So, Marxist theory holds that there are various manifestations of the nation of class struggle, one of which is an economic one. Marxist theory serves as a lens to examine how Mrs. Bennet's personality and motivations are shaped by her social standing and economic pressures of her environment. Next is the theoretical framework. The first part is Marxist by Karl Marx. It will Marxist approach will examine Mrs. Bennet character. Next is there are class struggle, class anxiety, patriarchal society. These are the factors or the things that Mrs. Bennet's experience that shaping her personality in the end. Next is the methodology. The methodology that I am going to use of my research is qualitative method. which focus on exploring the influence of social class on personality through a deep analysis of Mrs. Bennet's character in the novel. The primary data of my research will be the Pride and Prejudice novel, and the secondary data are is references that examine the issue related with both the topic and the novel. Next is the data collection techniques. Later, when I am going to conduct my research, the first thing that I have to do is reading the novel and other resources as the subject of the research. Second is identifying words, phrases, clauses, sentences, and characters' utterances that related to the research problems and later become the research data. And the last is analyzing the collected data based on Marx's approach and the issue of the study so that I can find the findings of my research. So here are my references on my proposal writing related to the topic, the issue or the approach that I am going to use of my upcoming research. Actually, there are more references, but I am put it in the Word file. These are just some of them. So that is all my presentation of my proposal writing. Thank you so much for Prof. Rudy and Ma'am Ria for guiding me in writing this proposal writing and helping me. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.